Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
Hey, home inspectors out there, I'm here to bring you a strategy that will increase your business, and it's easy. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com, get you 5 flyers, put your logo, your information, your testimonials in there, send them off to the printing company. Within a week, you get a box full of flyers at your door, ready to go. You've got all your marketing materials for the month. Take out flyer number 1, that whole how many offices you serve. Hit those offices with those flyers and candy, and hope you have candy bowls in those offices. I'm telling you, you will increase your business. Pick out some flyers you can get into. Again, homeinspectionflyers.com. Here's the formula. homeinspectionflyers.com. Get the flyers, fix them up, send them off to get printed. They come to your door. You take them. You get candy. You go to the offices, and you will increase your business. Thanks for listening.
Right, listeners who are primarily home inspectors, I have a special treat for you today. I have one of a good buddy of mine I've known for a long time, Mr. John Watkins. How you doing, John?
I'm good, Preston. How are you, bud?
Good. John is out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he owns Nashville Home Inspection. And I remember he said first thing he'll tell you is, though, he doesn't know anybody in the music business, because you usually get that follow-up question, don't you? I think a lot, don't you?
Yeah, you do. If you're not in Nashville, if you're visiting somewhere, they say, well, do you know somebody? No, I've got a sister that can really sing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, funny you should mention that, though. I think since that, that show come out in Nashville, man, my wife and some of her friends, I think she did, but some of her friends took a trip to Nashville just to see some of the places that are portrayed in that show, I guess. Is it Bluebird or something like that?
It's crazy. That Bluebird is a songwriters cafe where songwriters kind of go and try to become discovered. It's been around forever and ever. But yeah, that's a popular spot. You can go by there 7 days a week, and there'll be a line out in the parking lot of people trying to get in.
Wow, I bet you that show has probably helped Nashville's economy. I bet.
Oh, it has. And my wife, she lives in Nashville, and she's addicted to the show. She never
Oh, really?
It, so.
Mine too. Well, sorry to get off track there, but I have ADD and I didn't take my medicine, so that's what you get. Well, John, tell us a little bit more about you, because we'd like to get to know you personally.
There's not a whole lot to tell. I'm just a guy who lives in Nashville, Tennessee, who never planned on getting into the home inspection business, but here I am. I've done a lot of things in my life at a younger age, so I'm kind of a homebody these days. I stay at home a lot, play with my dog, spend time with my wife and my kids, and drive my Jeep around and work on it a little bit. And that's about as exciting as it gets with me.
Oh, cool. Do you have a Wrangler? Do you have one of those?
I do.
That's what I want, man.
Older
one. How do you like it? You like it pretty good?
I like it. You know, they're the least practical car on the planet, because they're really a 2-person car. Even though you've got the little back seat, there's just no room to do anything else. But they're fun.
Now, yours, obviously, your top comes down. Do you have the hard top or just the soft top?
I just have the soft top. I leave it off most of the time, and I'll probably put it on. I keep it in my garage, so the first time it snows, I'll have to rush out and put it on. So I get to work.
Do you take that on inspections? Can you get your ladder and everything on that?
I do in the winter. Or I do when it's required, if the snow is bad, because my other car is a 2-wheel drive truck. So.
Okay. Well, John, tell us. Not too many of us grew up wanting to be a home inspector. How exactly did you get into the home inspection business?
It's kind of a weird story. I think they probably all are a little bit different. Yeah. But growing up, I wanted I was crazy about music. I wanted to get into the music business. I wanted to be a songwriter. I wanted to do all of those things. And I went to school in near Dallas, Texas, college in Denton, a city outside of Dallas, Texas. And I parked cars. I was a valet parker at a lot of really nice restaurants in Dallas. And the owner of that company started a company here in Nashville. And he said, "Hey, you want to get in the music business? Why don't you move to Nashville and run my company up there for me?" So I did.
Okay.
And that kind of turned into a pretty long little career in the music business. And then one day, my son was going to be born soon, and I was, I'm tired of traveling, and I spent so many years out on the road with people who would call their kids on their birthdays, from out on the road.
Right.
Well, that's not. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So I came home, and I was walking out of the dentist office, believe it or not, and on the side of a truck there was a Housemaster's Home Inspection Company sign on the side of his truck.
Right.
And I said, I can do that. and the rest is history. I've got a little bit of a background in building because my dad did some building and development when I was growing up, so I knew enough to dive in.
Okay. Now, did you go to one of the schools, or did you work for a home inspector? How'd you get into it?
At the time, Tennessee did not require licensing.
Right.
You could get a business card printed up, and you were a home inspector. Mm-hmm. So, but I thought, I don't know enough, so I went to some little bitty one-man shop home inspection school that I found online in 99 or 98. And it was in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I went and trained with him for a week, went on all his inspections with him, and then at night we'd go over different things. And I did that and became a home inspector. Then when licensing was required later on, I just went back and took a state-approved class just so I could say I did it.
Okay. Now, when you said you were on the road, were you playing, and did you travel with anybody famous? I know everybody asks you that question. Yeah,
I was a tour manager actually. I didn't play anything, any instrument, but I was a tour manager for a country singer who had a lot of hits. A few years back. His name is Colin Ray.
Oh yeah.
And I did that I worked for him for about 10 years.
Oh, cool. I bet you saw a lot of places, but I get, it's kind of like traveling. I mean, it's fun for a little bit, but it gets old pretty quick.
Yeah, it was really fun when I was in my 20s. It wasn't as fun when I was in my 30s. Right. Your priorities can kind of change, and your ability to get up and go the next morning kind of diminishes.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot now.
Right, exactly. I don't know. Every time I wake up, I see something new you posted on Facebook. I go, man, when does he sleep?
I drink a lot of Diet Coke and well, John, let's see, you said that was about 98, 99, so my math.
Right.
You've been doing inspections about 16 years or so, give or take.
I did my first one in August of 99, I think.
Okay. So tell us about some of the changes you've seen in that time.
Oh man, it's all of, to me, it's the biggest changes are technology. It's when I first started, I made my inspection software on an Excel spreadsheet, no photographs, no anything, and the digital photographs and the web-based software and the online scheduling. It's craziness. One man can do things that would have taken 10 people to do.
Right, but you started out with you were doing inspections on a computer to begin with?
I did.
You were way ahead, man. You were way ahead.
I think I was, because I called the most successful realtor in Nashville at the time and said, I need some way to be different. And amazingly, he called me back. He didn't know me from Adam. Mm-hmm. And he called me back and he said, get your reports computerized so no one has to read your handwriting. We don't like triplicate forms. And he said, mention positive things about the property.
Right.
I took that advice and ran with it.
That's good. That's good advice. Of course, now everybody does computerized reports now, but for all the listeners out there, he just dropped the gold nugget. Say some positive things about the house. I know sometimes it's hard.
Exactly.
I've had few. It's like, that's a pretty rhododendron. The rest of the house barks like a dog, but boy,
it's a great car.
Yeah, exactly. Great neighborhood 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Except for this. No, it is challenging sometimes, but you can almost always find something.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Well, John, tell me how many inspectors do you have, and take us back there. What was it like to hire that first one? Because I know a lot of folks struggle with that.
I've got myself plus 4. That may become 3 soon, but right now I've got myself plus 4. And actually, I always told myself, it's funny how you change your mind over time. But if you'd have asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I was ever going to have any inspectors, and I said, no way, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fool with it. And a guy that lives out here near me, he just kept pestering me. He wanted to be a home inspector, and he had been a home inspector in Virginia, and I guess it hadn't done so well. So he moved here for whatever reason. So he just kept pestering me. So I said, okay, well, we'll see how bad you want to go get your license. He did. And I said, okay, and he trained with me. And so I never really recruited anyone. And we did pretty well the first year. I ended up having to let him go because just some things were he knew that he shouldn't do. He did. But I made a bunch of money off of him, and I thought, wow, this is nice. I'm making a lot more money, and not working any more than I am. So that kind of got us to where we thought we're going to hire some inspectors. And now I'll say this: hiring what we'll call the first intentional hire, that was challenging because I'd never done it before, and like you hear people say, you got to kiss a lot of frogs.
Yeah.
And so we got the recruiting process somewhat automated. But the toughest thing I learned over all this is that suppose you put an ad out and you get 40 or 50 people respond. You narrow that down to like 8 or 10 that you want to talk to, and then that down to 5 or 6 that maybe you want to meet with. The guy you're looking for may not be in any of that. Sometimes you have to say no to all those.
Right.
And, I've made a mistake by saying yes to a couple. My last resort. Man, I got to get one out of this group, and it just wasn't a good fit.
Right.
So I've learned that.
I've been through the same thing, and I've had, and I want to take your thing a step further. I agree with what you said, narrow it down to certain. And you know what? I would arrange to meet all those folks the same day, back to back to back, because inevitably somebody's not going to show up. And when they just made it easy. You eliminated them. But, it makes you mad when you're just supposed to meet one person and they don't show up. Now you waste your day. So, we do it back to back to back to back. 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. And I already know ahead of time. Out of 8, 1 or 2 will not show up. I guarantee you. And then, then you can start working within that. And I'm like you. I mean, sometimes I'm like, man, I didn't like any of those guys. Or, it's weird. And other times you're like, God, there were several that I thought were pretty good. But, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm dead on. Sometimes I'm not. I don't have magic crystal ball. And we've let some go. We've hired some, and it always seems like we don't have enough inspectors. Around May, April, May, and June. And then we got too many this time of year.
Right.
You're trying to hang on to them because you'll need them. 3 months.
Exactly.
I always say it's during football season. As soon as football season's over, Super Bowl's end of February, start March. Man, it'll pick up again. But
they're out shopping again. Yeah, I've tried to tell people, November and December are coming. Plan for that.
Yeah,
I'll keep you working, but you won't be working like you are now.
Yeah, in January too. January's tough because nobody's looking at a house. Not many around December and the holidays. Well, do you, John? Do you have a training process for your inspectors? Tell us more about that.
It's a work in progress because, like the first guy, I really didn't plan on having a guy. He just came along. And I said, well, I better figure out how to get him to do things my way. And he had been an inspector, and he kind of had the idea of how it all went down. And by a miracle, he used the same software that I've been using, so that was a fairly easy train. But now what I've done is I've kind of learned that I'll take the guy with me on the first day, and I'll say, you don't have to do anything. You just follow me, and don't ask me any questions until we're done with this section, meaning if we're on the outside, don't ask me a question until we're on the inside, and I'll say, do you have any questions? And then and we'll do that. And then a couple other things I'll say, okay, just go over here and do this or do that. And a lot of times it's just testing to see how well they follow directions. Because, I've had them, 5 minutes after I gave them that speech, they're asking me 37 questions.
Right.
So it's just things like that. And I'll say, all right, now go here, but don't do that. And it's amazing how many grown men just get off task.
Yeah.
So quickly. And then after that, I'll kind of say, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to sit down, and I'm going to just text you items as I'm doing the inspection. You're going to type them into the software.
Right.
And I get them practicing that. And then after they kind of get the software down, I'll say, okay, today you're going to test all the receptacles and all the windows in the entire house.
Well, that's a good system.
And then just kind of go through room by room after that. And I say heating and air conditioning for last because for some reason that seems to be the hardest for most people to grasp.
Right. No,
I hope that helps. It's not really a system.
No,
that's all I got.
No, I think it's good. I'm agreeing with everything you say. I think it's good, but I'm also thinking, I'm a grown man who gets off task a lot too.
No, I do too.
Squirrel.
I do too, but I've always managed to say, if I'm working for someone, I better do what they say. If at all possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, the biggest thing I always tell my guys is you got to establish a routine, and you've got to stick to that routine. And once you get a routine down, you can tackle any house. I mean,
no doubt.
And you won't be intimidated. But if you don't have a routine, you're going to go out to a big house where stuff's in different places, and they're going to have family out there. Both realtors are going to be out there, and you're going to be in trouble.
Right.
You got to stick to your routine. And I always talk to the buyer, and I said, look, you're welcome to follow me around. I would discourage it though, because you're not going to get as good of an inspection if you're following me around and talking to me the whole time as you would if I could. If you see something that you want me to, please bring it to my attention, see something on your own. But meanwhile, I always bring them graph paper or something in a tape measure and say, you may want to take some measurements because, you may not be thinking about it now, but I guarantee you, at some point you'll get back and say, is that china cabinet going to fit? Or you're thinking about buying furniture. I would go take some measurements or something, but obviously I'm a little bit more nice about it. But.
Right. You're a little more tactful. I get that. And if a realtor asks you, would you rather this or that? I say, you know what? They're the boss. They can come the entire inspection, do whatever they want to do. I'll tell you this, that I'm a much better inspector when I'm by myself.
Right.
And most of the time that gets across. There's still that one guy that you're going to step on 3 or 4 times because he's right behind you.
Yeah, well, and absolutely, and you see something on the outside, like you see some flashing that's a little questionable or something, and immediately, or a shingle, you're immediately, note to self, make sure you look real close when you get up there around that. But, if somebody's talking to you and asking questions and wanting you to look at it, by the time you get back around, it's easy for that to slip your mind. So that's
for sure.
Well, do you change the gears here just a little bit, John? Do you have a success quote you'd be willing to share with our listeners?
Yeah, it's kind of I think most of the time people want you to, give something from a captain of the industry or from a motivational speaker, but mine is from Mark Twain, and it actually just says, "I've been through terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened." And what he's saying there is that, we spend so much time in our head worrying about negative things that might happen, or maybe what something might say to us, or whether someone might reject us. And rarely does that come to fruition. No, rarely does it come true.
Right.
Right. So that's just, I heard that a long time ago, and it kind of makes you, if you read it out loud long enough, it kind of makes you maybe think a little bit differently. Say, so what? Just go do it.
Yeah. No, it's all the worrying and stuff. It's something similar I heard. It's not the snake that bites you, but it's the what is it? The anxiety and the worry and all that drives the poison to the heart.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So I'm with you though. I worry about stuff, and I'm getting better about it as I get older.
Right.
It's funny, man. When I had this discussion with my buddy, I was like, the older you get, you're married, and you got your kids and your minivan, and I used to worry about what people thought of me all the time. Now I really don't care. I mean, obviously, you want your realtors, because everybody, you got that in-law or something that, they're not paying my bills. I don't really care what they think.
Exactly.
Isn't there some liberation or something in that? I don't know what it is.
And I think you're right. And you can have that attitude and not be arrogant or rude. You just kind of say, you know what, that's cool. I don't care. I'm going to do my thing. I'm still going to get paid, and I'm not going to change the way I do things. So I think it's a healthy attitude.
No, it is. There's something that, so for all you young guns out there listening, something happens to you about mid-40s where it's just like, I really don't care. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I mean, I'm going to do a good job, but they like me, they like me. If they don't, they don't. That's just the way it is. And I'm not going to lose sleep about it.
That's correct.
Well, John, let's say that I'm a buyer or a real estate agent in your market. There are other home inspectors in your market. Why should I hire you? Is there something you do that others don't?
Yeah, a couple of things. I guess, sometimes it sounds cliche that, that it's our people that make the difference. And I think that's probably true to some extent with all home inspection companies, good or bad. The people make the difference. But I got lucky in the 3 inspectors that I had. They just they're really compassionate. They actually care. I mean, they like to make money, don't get me wrong, but they actually care about the people they're working for. They want to do the right thing. They care about me as an employer. They're always trying to help out. So I think those kind of people, that attitude comes across when they're first meeting the client out in front of the house, and they're approachable and they're easy to speak with. I think that's one thing that sets us apart from a lot of home inspection companies. And then the other things are, we do mold, radon, all those things, but we do third-party termite letters, and then I also do my own termite inspections. In Tennessee, you have to be a pest control operator or work for one. Mm-hmm. Actually do the inspection yourself. So for about the last 5 or 6 years, I've hired third-party companies to come out with us at the same time and do the termite inspection. And that's only a benefit to the client and the agent if they show up at the same time.
Right.
Yes, we're there. So we've got that worked out pretty well. Then in the last few months, I've actually talked to a guy who owns a pest control company here to hire me as his employee so I can do my own termite inspections.
Oh, okay. Do you have like an apprentice deal there, like a lot of states where you have to do it under somebody for a year or 2 years or something? For
sure, yeah. It's tough to, I think we're going to talk about this later, but it's tough. To be a pest control person, you can't just get a business card.
Right.
Printed out. You got to go through some steps, some paces to get it done.
Right. Let me ask you something, John, about your mold testing now. Because the reason I'm asking is because I'm getting ready to have all my guys are getting ready to go through training. I got kits ordered. We're getting ready to roll that out. Do all your guys do it, or just you, or do they all do it?
Just me, and actually I've got another guy that'll do it from time to time, but if all possible, I do it. The thing about Tennessee is that you don't have to be certified for radon, mold, any of that. Right. Now, I think it's a good idea to take some training so you kind of know what you're talking about. But as far as the mold, we just do the aerosol samples. Just have a machine that breathes the air basically for 5 minutes, take an inside sample, outside sample, then ship it off to a lab.
Okay.
And get the results back. I know there are other ways to do it, but that's the way we do it.
Yeah. Do you do the swabs too, or you just do the
We do.
air?
We do. If necessary. If I get there and I see just a lot of fungal growth on a wall or something like that, I'll swab that as well. But I usually start with the air sample. Then if I see evidence of water being let go or a lot of fungus on a drywall, then I'll add a swab or what they call a tape lift, where you just tape it on and peel it up. I want to ask you. I'm not going to ask you a question, but I'm kind of feeling like, because home inspectors aren't supposed to in Tennessee. It's not part of the standards of practice, but it seems to I rarely do I mention it unless I think it's rampant. Unless I think, there's something going on here, and I always wonder, am I stepping outside of what I'm supposed to do if I mention it at all? Am I right just to see it growing like crazy and not say a word? Well,
see, that's the thing. I've avoided it for years because I honestly, I may ruffle some feathers out there listening, but I honestly think a lot of the mold stuff's a big scam. That's my honest opinion.
Agreed.
And I stayed away from a bunch of it because I just didn't like it. But that's part of the reason I think I'm gonna start testing now, is because I think I know it's not part of our standards of practice either, and I held that stance, and I still feel that way a little bit. But then again, like you said, if we see something that's potentially dangerous, or the opposite, that we feel like somebody's getting taken advantage of here. I feel like, hey, my job is to that customer to either protect them from this environmental toxin or this contractor toxin who's trying to sell them, a bag of snake oil they don't need.
You're exactly right. It's crazy, and we're talking about termite inspectors. They've all gotten into that business because they're in the crawl space. They're going to try to sell you a vapor barrier and a mold treatment while they're down there. And so the guys that work for me third party, we just say, we don't want to know anything from you other than does it or does it not have termite activity. That's what we want to know.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And I know there's some mold people out there that might listen to this at some point and, cringe or whatever. But, if you're selling somebody something they don't need and using fear to do it, then shame on you. I mean,
exactly.
You have no respect for me whatsoever. I'm all about, entrepreneurship and building your business, but not selling somebody they don't need based on fear and using fear to do it. I have a real problem with that.
And you're exactly right. And it's, somehow the news has sensationalized it, and I guess attorneys have probably helped to carry that forward. And then it's the mold people who will sell something, like you said, sell somebody something they really don't need.
Yeah. Now, and I know there is Stachybotrys and Aspergillus, I can't even pronounce, but it's usually chronic more. And I'm not talking about that, but I'm, talking about the other. But anyway, sorry to get off on the soapbox. Well, tell us, I'm going to combine these two questions, John. I know you don't have a whole lot of spare time in this business, but tell us something that people don't know about you, and what would you do if you had spare time?
Okay, something that most people don't know about me is that I ended up owning a valet parking company here in Nashville back in the late 80s.
Oh, wow.
And parked a lot of cars and, at nice restaurants in downtown Nashville. And I had a pretty good living at the time. I wasn't smart enough to know what to do with the money, but I made a little bit of it.
Right.
And so that's always, I guess that's one thing people don't know about me. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that's what I've got.
No, that's fine. Did you sell that when you got in the home inspection business? Or?
Yeah, I just kind of I had some guys that were working with me. I ended up just kind of turning it all over to them. I just kind of got tired.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of work, I imagine.
Yeah, and it was, and I had at one time I probably had about 30 employees, believe it or not, and they were parking cars all over Nashville, and they're all young. They're like 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old college kids. And that's just it's just a lot to keep track of, and I wasn't much older. I was probably 24.
Yeah,
25, so. It's
got to be stressful too, and these 17, 18-year-old kids are driving $80,000 cars.
Oh yeah, it's liability is very high. Probably about like the home inspection business. I had a guy that worked for me for about 3 years. We called him Fiero Phil.
Oh no!
If you remember the little Pontiac Fieros from back.
Fiero, yeah, little mid-engine car. I dated a girl that had one.
Yep. His first day, within the first hour, he pulled a little red Fiero out in front of a big truck, and it just ripped the front end of it off.
Oh my God!
From that day on, he was Fiero Phil, and yeah, I kept him around, and he ended up being a really conscientious employee. I just thought this can't be. I mean, This is just bad luck. I'm going to give him a chance. He ended up being a pretty good employee, but he had to bear the name Fiero Phil for as long as he worked for me.
Well, I know, we've gone out to restaurants and stuff, and I know those guys, like a lot of things in the restaurant business and that, they got to get them quick and turn them, and they got lots.
Yep.
So, it kind of scares me because I'm like, those guys, man, they drive it fast, park it, run back. I'm like,
exactly.
I'm like, man, that guy's driving a $90,000 car right there, and he's flying around. But
if you own a very nice car and you're listening, just know that as soon as the car is out of your sight, the gas pedal goes down.
I'm sure, because they're trying to hustle to park it as fast as they can, and
exactly.
They're getting a tip each time. The more they can turn, just
right.
Like tables. You work in a restaurant, you're trying to turn those tables because if you could turn them one more time than everybody else, that's $40 more. But anyway, well, let's see. Now, as well as I do, John, that if you do enough inspections, you're going to get an unhappy camper. Kind of like the guy probably who owned that Fiero. how do you handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process? What's that look like?
Yeah, we've got a claims procedure where if they'll, it usually starts off with an email or a phone call, and sometimes they're upset, and so we just kind of say, okay, we let them know that we're not, negating anything they're saying. We're happy to help you. Here's what we want you to do. We have them fill out a form with a list of questions asking different things about the claim, when it was noticed, have they had anyone look at it, yada, yada, yada. And it asks a lot of questions. And sometimes just reading through that form, they'll kind of figure out, well, gee, now that I'm thinking about this, maybe it wasn't his fault. Maybe it's just one of those things. Now, and sometimes it doesn't, but we start that down the road, and when they get all that filled out, and then we'll kind of, if they can send us some pictures or something, then we'll make an appointment for me to go back out there and look at things and go from there. And I think the most important thing is just not to ignore people. It's just, boy, if I get an email like that, I'm on it like 30 seconds later.
Right. Now, do you email them this form, or how do they get the form to fill out?
We'll send them a form via email, and they can just fill it out. There's also I think there's actually a link to it on a back page of one of our blogs as well, where they can find it as well. Most of the time, we just put it in a PDF and send it to them.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that if you didn't. I know Dave Schwartz in Arizona gave me that idea. He's got it like a page on his website, but not like you could normally see it, because obviously you don't want somebody to see that when they're like going out to do an inspection complaint form. Right. That's not going to be. But it's like you have to type / and it's like, I don't know, resolute. I don't know. It's something positive spin. I can't remember the exact. Right. But that's good, because then they can get it right away. But email it to one. But I think that's a good idea.
And either way, and to be honest with you, I may have to plead ignorance to that, because since Joan started working with me, she handles all that preliminary stuff, getting the paperwork to them and all that, and then I'll go out and do the final look over to see if there is an issue or not.
Okay. Now I got a question for you. If you're like us, you go, I won't get one, everything's going great, and then daggone it, they come in threes.
Oh,
yours come in threes.
They do, as a matter of fact, and it's
you always like, think, really? Boom, and we're waiting for that third shoe to drop. It's like, I got one here, got one yesterday, and then you'll go like a couple of weeks, nothing, everything's good, and then I'm like, it's too quiet, man. It's starting to get eerie or something. But
it's so strange, because I'm not saying that I'm Superman or anything, but when I was just doing it by myself, I never got them. Maybe once or twice a year, I'd get something. But now with employees, they're a bit more frequent, and it's always stressful to read an email. But thankfully, they usually always work out okay.
Yeah. It's two things. It's getting employees. And people have gotten more, I don't know, for lack of a better word, crazy. Over time.
You're exactly right, man. It's a sense of entitlement or something. I don't know what it is.
Well, I think, when everybody got all those free roofs, for nobody pays for roof anymore. It's always hail damage. Now it's like never anything, when they buy a house, anything's wrong with this house, somebody else is going to pay for it. It just, I don't know, man. When you've been hit on the chin as many times as I have, you get used to it.
You're still always worried about that big one that's going to come in. And so I always try to preach to my guys, I can live with a leaky faucet. I can live with this, but man, what we don't want to miss is the big stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the stuff that'll hurt you.
Yeah, and then and it's crazy. I heard somebody say one time, you never go to court if you're wrong. Pay it, and we do. And every once in a while, but probably most folks who are listening out there, if you had 10 complaints, I bet you only 3 of them would be legit. The other 7 would be either stuff that's on the report. They're trying to say you didn't say how bad it was or something, but it's on there, or something that's not part of the standards you practice. And, 3, I probably should have said 1 out of 3 instead of would have been better. But I'd say that's about right. Well,
I think you're right.
Well, John, we're going to get into some highs and lows here. But first, let's take a pause for our sponsors.
Hey, home inspectors out there, I'm going to tell you a creative, inexpensive way to increase your business massively. go to homeinspectionflyers.com and get the flyers. You get 5 flyers a month. You customize them to yourself. They're turnkey, they're creative, and it's $29 a month for 5 flyers. That's less than $6 a flyer. And they are done by yours truly, Preston Sandlin. And I am a creative guy, especially when I don't take my medication. But I come up with some crazy stuff. It works for my business. I went from 1 inspector to 7 inspectors with this strategy alone. So again, for $29.95, you get 5 flyers. I do 1 per week. I send them off to get copied on the internet. I can get them for about 7 cents a piece, and I put them out in the boxes when I do my candy run. Works fantastic. homeinspectionflyers.com. Thanks.
All right. Well, we are back here with John Watkins out of Nashville, Tennessee, and I've known John and his lovely wife Joan for several years. By the way, I meant to ask this: how did you and Joan meet, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, kind of we knew each other a long time. When I was in the music business, she worked at the music industry branch of SunTrust Bank.
Okay.
And I would always come in on Mondays with, briefcases full of cash.
Oh, nice.
From T-shirt sales and all that, and
I bet you were attractive.
Well, yeah, but most of them knew that it really wasn't my money. I was just a luggage boy.
Right.
But, and then I'd sit back there and she'd put it in these machines and just count it, and then they'd bundle it. And so I knew her then, but we were both married, and we just just kind of knew each other at the bank. And then about, I guess, 10 years later, I'd gotten out of the music business, and I walked into my local bank in a new neighborhood I moved in, and there she was managing that bank. I was like, wow, what are you doing here? We started talking, and then my undeniable charm won her over.
I hear you. Well, she's really nice.
Thank you very much. She's the best part of me, for sure.
Same here with my wife. Same here.
I know your wife, and I know that's true. So
yeah, it really is. It really is. There's a country song, something. They're the best side of me, and I point to my wife or something like that. They'll probably sue us if we mention it. So. Yeah. Well, John, tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there, and what did you learn from?
Again, not necessarily in home inspection business, but I'll just go back to a past life, I guess. When I owned the valet parking company, I was a young man, and I was moving and shaking. I was making some pretty big deals, and for a young dummy. And there's a street in Nashville called Second Avenue. And even back then, it was booming, just restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. It just kind of started to boom then. And parking was a nightmare. And I was doing valet parking at one really nice restaurant on Second Avenue. And the merchants, there was an association of the Second Avenue merchants who said, hey, put us together a proposal to do parking for the entire street. Okay. Which was a major undertaking. You had to have 4 or 5 stations. And the biggest part was a place to park the cars, because my, 800-pound gorilla competitor was a company called Central Parking, and they owned all garages and had contracts and all the blank lots. So I came with a plan, and it was, we were going to have to rent barges and anchor them down on the river and park them there. Yeah,
wow.
Because that was the only. And I thought that was kind of far-fetched, but I thought
now you go let Fiero Field drive a car onto a barge on the water.
Well, they would definitely have rails around the edges, big rails.
Okay.
But luckily that never came to fruition. But I remember, we put together a big, bound proposal and everything. I went and met with the merchants, and they just shot me down at it was all about expense, because some of the merchants were very small, like a hot dog stand, and they didn't want to fork out any money.
Right.
And then some of the merchants, even though they're big, they want to fork out more than what they thought was their share. And, it was, they stomped me down. It was never reviewed again. They shot me out of the meeting like yesterday's trash. Mm. And it was kind of, for my young ego, it was hard, but I learned, right away, man, you're not going to make everybody happy.
Right.
And not everybody's going to love your idea, and people don't always buy. So I guess that's what I learned.
Yeah. No, we've not the exact same thing, but we've put some proposals together too. And the heartbreaking thing is, you put a lot of time, money. Well, time is money. Time and energy into a proposal, and this to get shot down like you said, like yesterday's trash. Like, man, I could have been doing something else and have something to show for my thing, but I don't know. That's the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of becomes your baby, and then you feel like somebody's, picking on your kid or something. But as we get older, we kind of go, well, you know what? It's just not for them.
Yeah, well, and I sort of learn now, too, when I get those type things. I mean, I'll still put a proposal together, but, I'm like, I'll give it my best shot, but I'll try my best, but I'm not putting all my eggs into this. If it works, great, but if not, I'm not going to be too tore up about it because I know that can happen.
Right. And that goes back to that freedom, we talked about earlier, where if you're not desperate for the business, you just kind of say, I'll walk this way and I'll do this little proposal, whatever. But if I don't get it, it doesn't kill me. And,
right.
And I think that kind of freedom or that kind of laid back attitude, I think for some reason it turns clients on. You know what I'm saying? Like they want you more than if you're desperate.
And that kind of leads on to something else I want to talk about for just a second, not to get too far off track. But
okay.
You got a big client like that, and I've had those sort of things. Kind of like a lot of inspectors have a big time realtor that's giving them a lot of business, and that's great. That's great. But you probably, if everything's going great, that's great. But I don't know if you've ever had this where one may or may not be giving you a lot of business, but man, they are pulling you by the nose
right.
too, and like pulling you around. You know what I mean? And I just,
right.
When I was younger, I would do bend up. And there's been other times. I'm like, look, let's say you got one realtor giving you 25 pieces of business a year, and that is a lot. For one realtor, but man, they pull you through the ringer and just like really are demanding. You know what? I would rather have half that many realtors giving me, like 20 realtors giving me one inspection, or 10 realtors giving me two, because you know what? If one of them is acting up, sorry, I don't know. I've got to where I would rather have a lot of business from different people than have a lot of business from one person. You know what I mean? Because
I agree. And we always kind of, meeting in groups and things, we talk about go after, the top producer. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times that means you're going after some pretty big egos.
Yeah.
And it's peaceful to have a bunch of, to have some people who sell, a moderate amount of real estate, but are really, really loyal to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I get the thing about top producers, and I certainly do some inspections for a few, and not all of them are, but there are some that just, I don't care how much business they give me. It's not worth it. You're not. I'm sure you've had this, realtors that call and, they want that reinspection tomorrow. They don't care I don't care that you're busy and it's the middle of May and they just called today.
Right.
Sorry.
Those go on what we call our no-fly list.
Yeah, there you go.
if they call Alicia, one of the schedulers, and Joan, they know, you know what, we're busy. If this person calls, we were busy for 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. And they cycle through, too. They go through all the other inspectors. They'll be back. So anyway, I'm not trying to get down. I love a lot of realtors. And
I do too. They make my business. I love them. I guess like anything else, there's some good ones and some bad ones.
Yeah. And well, we talked about a time when you failed. Let's talk about the other end of the spectrum, John. Have you had a I made it moment, or a moment where like I've come a long way type moment?
Yeah. Recently, Joan and I had one. Believe it or not, we've been turning up. We kind of got behind in our marketing because in the summer our inspectors had just gotten out of training. Two of our inspectors just got out of training. They were just doing one a day till I felt like they were ready for two a day. Right. So we were turning away so much business. I said, well, let's not turn up the marketing just yet because we're just going to end up turning away more people. Then we kind of waited a little too long, so we were just in hustle mode trying to crank it up to keep everyone busy. So anyway, we've been working hard to get into this Keller Williams office. It has 200 agents.
Mm-hmm.
And so, made a few phone calls, got in, got connected to a sales meeting, made a couple of commitments to do some other extracurricular activities in their office. And we provided lunch for them last week at one of their team meetings. And the lady in charge, she just said, we want you to be part of our family. We want you to come to every single team meeting we have. You don't have to bring food. That's not so you bring food, just so you'll show up and you just add a little tidbit of, knowledge of something that you've learned in the last week about the home inspection business that you think might be helpful to us. And that's pretty cool when they bring you in like that, because in a way you're locking out your competitor if you're at every sales meeting.
Right. Wow, they want you to come to every sales meeting. That's awesome.
Yeah. And when I first thought, I said, man, I can't buy that much food. Is what I.
You know what though? I would still bring some, even though.
I think I will for sure.
Like
for sure
cookies or something. I mean something.
Right.
Fruit tray. Maybe not the full thing, but.
Right.
I would.
So that's a big win for Joan and I, and we've got the bold scholarship things set up with them. I've been working with them today. I'm going to do some lunch and learns in the second quarter. We're going to do they have another school program called Ignite where they teach. We're going to sponsor some of that. So that's kind of a big win to really get involved in our first office, because until now we've just kind of just done what we did, and the phone rang and stayed busy, and you didn't have to market incredibly hard. But so to have a big marketing win like that was exciting for both of us.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. Well, John, do you have a favorite book you could recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, and my favorite, I guess what you call business book or success book is, I guess you'd call it recency era. The latest one I've read, which is the One Thing by Gary Keller.
Yep.
Yeah,
love it.
I love that book. Admittedly, for someone like me, it's a little harder to implement because I can be a bit scattered.
You're right.
But I like, the basic premise says if you wanted to, basically I guess it's saying if you want to get important things accomplished, then you've got to accomplish important things. If that makes sense, you've got to figure out what's important.
Right.
And throw all the static, to the side. And so I'm high on that book right now.
Right. Well, and I think, instead of, it's funny, all this that you're saying too, it's like, I was just in a Keller Williams training class too. And, he said I would focus, don't make a list of 25 things you need to do. He says, focus on 5 things to improve your business. I know the title's One Thing, but basically if you just focus on the core things, a lot of those other things, they will or will not get done, but they don't matter as much as those core things. So just focus on that, because, we get lost in the thick of 10 things, We get so caught up in all the busy stuff. And, that's all I tell my wife, revenue-producing activities, honey. Revenue-producing activities. Don't worry about the rest of it. Just focus on those. But
and so that's hard I think you and I are like in a lot of ways. You said, you might have ADD, look squirrel or something like that. And that's kind of hard. You'll be sitting there at the desk trying to get your important things done, and something pops up on your computer. Oh, what's this?
Yeah, exactly.
You get pulled away.
Oh, yeah, my buddy's in Vegas, man. He sent me some pictures. Honey, hang on, look, that's on my other computer. No, I'm just kidding. Well, John, we talked about, some of the changes you've seen, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but do you have any idea on how do you think home inspections will change in the future?
I try not to be a doom and gloomer, because I just don't think that helps anybody. But I have kind of a worry in the back of my mind that I heard somebody say one time that excessive litigation leads to excessive regulation.
Right.
And so I kind of fear that at some point the government's going to think it can help people out by really highly regulating the home inspection industry and really getting on top of us. And I think that normally that just makes for, I don't know anything that the government does very well. and so I think it's just going to make for mediocre, for a mediocre industry and mediocre inspectors. Now, maybe it won't happen, and hopefully it won't, but I'm always worried about when you start to see just a whole lot of, litigation and those kind of things. You're always worried that it can go that way.
Yeah, well, and don't get me off my government kick. The government always thinks they can do things better, but to me, it's like the free market system. I mean, if somebody's a bad home inspector, they're not doing a good job, they won't last, because they won't get any more referrals. I mean, I feel like the market regulates itself, and if you're doing a good job, you're going to get recommended. People are going to say, hey, this guy inspected my house. You should use him. I mean, I don't know. Don't get me off on that soapbox, but the government always wants to help us. And what is it? The biggest lies you've ever heard. I'll respect you in the morning, and I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you.
Exactly. And maybe it won't go that way because on the other hand, I see Nashville's really booming right now, and I see us trying to focus our efforts on higher end homes because, in my opinion, there's less of that litigatory nonsense on that upper end. So. Maybe the prices will just go up and the volume will continue to boom and we'll boom. But there you go. For what I have, it's my split personality, good and bad.
No, I'm with you. Well, I know the answer to this before speaking of litigation, how lawyers say, don't ask the question unless you know what the answer is going to be.
Right.
I know what the answer is going to be to this question. Have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? How do you handle it, and what's your thoughts on this? Is there anything we can do?
I have, recently. So, but
I think I get Monday. Can you beat Monday?
But close to it. But it's just something. I always listen to what the guys, because usually comes back through a realtor or through the client mostly, and I usually just listen to exactly what he had to say, and I'll kind of pick it apart and make sure I'm listening to everything. Then I'll go back and read the report, and most of the time the stuff is in there. Or most of the time, like everybody knows, well, I did this, he should have seen this. And they have no idea what we're supposed to look for. They don't have a clue. They're just trying to sell something.
Right.
And so most of the time I can just, discredit his claim without being rude to anyone. Say, well, actually, here's so-and-so and so-and-so. And if you look at so-and-so on this agreement we signed, which says we don't do this, and then you'll kind of see why we don't do it, and here's why we don't do it. And most of the time, they're pretty good with that. But every now and then I'll have to say, you know what, he's a clown. He's trying to take your money.
Right. And I'll tell you something else too. If they ever, if you ever been called on one that they've already done the repair. And obviously the I'm sure your contract, like most contracts, say that you're supposed to be allowed to see it, but neither here nor there. The client spent $3,200 or whatever, and they want you to pay for it. Now, obviously you can, one thing you can almost always say is, all right, well, the contractor's throwing me under the bus. Let's see the permit that the builder pulled. And 9 times out of 10, that contractor did not pull a permit. So I'm like, wait a minute, he did an illegal repair, and you're asking me to pay for an illegal repair?
That's smart. I've never even heard of that. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, I mean, that's illegal contracts are unenforceable. That's like a drug deal gone bad. You can't go to the law of a drug deal. That's an illegal contract to begin with. Because, you know as well as I do, those contractors don't like full permits because, it takes extra time and they got to wait for the guy to come out. And if it's over a certain amount of money or if it's if it's $3,200, chances are it's dealing with something that needed a permit.
Right. Oh, for sure.
But anyway, that's just a writer downer there. And I learned that. And I don't usually stop the contractor. Well,
for sure. That's a great idea.
We talked about using fear, and I honestly don't even want to talk about that anymore because it'll get me in a bad mood, and we're in a good mood. But this is starting to get better, but I want to ask your opinion on this. Home inspector forums. There's some good things about there, and I think the potential there is for great, social media has changed everything. I mean, the great thing, there's down and up. The downside is everybody knows everything, and people put their dirty laundry on there when they shouldn't, and people forget the whole world can see it. But the good side of it is, man, you can get help and have a discussion with, like-minded people or not like-minded people right away, and get some instant, expertise. The potential that home inspectors forums have is we all can help each other. Unfortunately, the downside of that is every once in a while, the big old, chest thumping, as Gordon Fox says, keyboard cowboy gets on there and just wants to, You can't help but showing his ego. Oh, I'm the best home inspector ever, and you're an idiot. You don't know what you're saying. Maybe not in so many words, but that's basically what's being implied. And
right.
then, it just goes downhill from that. And, I'm sure you've seen it, the name calling, it's just unprofessional. So basically my question is, is there anything we can do about, when the forums go bad?
Yeah, I think there is. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I don't go on forums very often unless I'm just really stumped on it. Usually I'll just find how to find a particular serial number for an old unit or something like that. I'll start poking around, or the age of a particular unit, given a serial number. And I'll go in there and read some things, and there's usually that, you'll come across almost in every thread you'll find a pompous remark.
Yeah.
And so, and it's brutal because I've seen them on there before when some guy's just starting out, he's on like his 20th inspection, and he'll ask a simple question. He'll say, "Oh, you know what? You need to quit inspecting. You need to go back and study. You need to go. You shouldn't inspect
something like
until
that.
you've trained on 5." And I'm like, man, this guy's asking for help. You guys are just beating him up. It's not good.
And you know what? If I was a realtor and I'm looking at that, the person who's doing the beating up, I'd never hire you. You're a pompous ass, and I'm not going to hire you. And you're just you're really the idiot because you're acting pompous, and they don't see it.
It's crazy, and it's just and they'll just sometimes I get tickled just watching if two of them get on the same thread and just start killing each other. I'm just like, wow. But I think to answer your question, there's got to be a way for someone like you, Preston Sandlin, to start a positive forum. And I know that's all sunshine and flowers, kumbaya. But if you can get some people involved who are like-minded and decent and not rude and who are helpful, and the first time someone makes even remotely an inappropriate, hateful, beat down remark, you're done.
Well,
you're out of here.
Disrespectful. I tell my guys and my family, it's okay to disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing, but there is something wrong with disrespecting.
Right.
And it should never get beyond. Just say, hey, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that.
Right.
But that's it. That's it. Done. Not I've been inspecting since my grandfather came over on the Mayflower, and you don't know what you're talking about. But way to put me on the spot there, John. Good job.
Right. No, if there were a group of people who were helpful and who would do that.
No, I'm with you.
Who's that? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm hesitant to help on forums like that. I don't do them very often, but if I happen to get on there and someone's asking a question or something, I'm hesitant to respond just because I don't feel like battling somebody who might disagree with me. So there's got to be a way to get positive people to help other people.
Yeah. Well, I put some stuff on there about drones, showed some footage, and, there's several people like, oh, man, that's awesome. But then, of course, you've got some guys like, oh, that's nothing but kind of, that's not as good as climbing on the roof. I never said it was as good as climbing on the roof, but there's some roofs you can't climb on.
Right.
But anyway.
And it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good tax write-off toy. But no, Billy Barner, he's got one, ideas exchange. He's doing a pretty good job of monitoring it. And Gary, I think it's Gary Smith in Mississippi. He's got one, professional home inspectors. He's doing a pretty good job. And there's probably others, but they state right off the bat, hey, it's okay to disagree, but not okay to be disrespectful. And that's right. Just. It makes the professional look bad. And, hey, man, there's going to be some new guys. You were new once, too. Don't forget that.
Oh, without a doubt. That's what people need to remember. We can all be dummies when compared to somebody else, no matter how far along we are.
And everybody everybody you meet knows something you don't.
Right.
And you know something they don't. So why don't we exchange that information?
Exactly.
Well, John, now remember, this is a G-rated show when you answer this question. Mm-hmm. What's the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you've ever found on a home inspection?
Let me see here. I'm trying to think. I wrote that down, so I'm not trying to mess up your
No. I know a lot of people found like pot plants, and some of the guys have found some coffins. Some
Right.
guys up in New England have found like stuff from like the Revolutionary War or something. Like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you the second craziest thing, because the first craziest thing is not fit for broadcast. But
Okay.
but we'll do
Next
that.
time I see you, we'll get a beer and you can tell me the first one.
Yeah, I'll tell you that one.
Okay.
The second craziest thing is I'm in this attic, and it's a foreclosed house, and I'm just looking around and I go, what's all this stuff in this attic? I'm finding potting soil, and I'm finding
lights.
fertilizer, and all
Yeah.
and
Right.
and then all of a sudden there's fluorescent lighting,
Yeah.
hanging out. I'm not gullible. I'm definitely not sheltered, but I guess I just had the dumb hat on it and finally went, wait a minute. These people were in retail. They were
Right.
They were dope dealing. Yeah, and that was just like, wow. It was like a big house and a big enterprise in a nice neighborhood, and I'm wondering, how in the world did they get by? And come to find out, they'd done things as I went, around and looked. They'd bypass the power.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like
they had to get the light for all the light.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I guess that's the craziest thing.
Well, cool. We had some rental houses, and we had some in our. They were always paying in cash. So I get a call from the police one night. Said, Mr. Sandlin, do you own the household so and so? And I was like, yep. And they said, undercover officer just bought crack cocaine at a house that you. And I'm like, oh my God. And then so now I have to evict him, which I did. But of course, he was saying he was set up and all that. Just fun stuff.
Yeah, that's
left the house in really great shape too, right?
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah, he was not happy to leave. Well, anyway, do you have John, have you found like an internet or an app or a resource or either training or marketing resource you'd be willing to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I've kind of gotten on this thing. You always try to figure out ways to get your message read, to improve your open rate, I guess, like on emails or on the letters or whatever.
Right.
And about 3 weeks ago, I said, man, there's got to be a way. So actually, I just said, I want to see how much an auto pen costs, because handwritten mail, the open rate is exponentially higher than stamped mail or even mail that looks like it's handwritten, but it's not. They can actually see the pressure of the pen on the envelope. So anyway, I couldn't find a price on an auto pen because they want you to call them, so that makes you think it must be very high.
Right. If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Right. And so I just thought, and so I found these two companies. One's called Bond, BOND.com.
Okay, I'm writing.
And one's called MailLift.com, like MailLift.com. And one of them, Bond, has a really high-end auto pen that holds a Mont Blanc pen, and it writes it. It'll write your message for you, stamp it, ship it out on really nice stationery for you, and it looks real. I had a few samples sent to me. Now, that being said, it's not for every day because it's like $3.50 a pop. But if you're like me, my handwriting is atrocious, and I'm never going to take the time to go by the stationery, sit down. But if I can take and just send an email with this message in it real quick as soon as I leave somebody's office, and I think it can bring me business that'll, you got to justify spending $3.50 on one handwritten letter. So, but they're both very cool. One of them, the Bond, is the auto pen, and the other one is actually a company out of Austin. They have a staff of people that actually sit down and write your letter for you.
Oh wow! So it actually is handwritten.
Yeah, they sit down at the desk, write it for you, put an envelope, address the envelope, handwritten, put a stamp on it, and also have it metered through your local post office.
Wow.
So, and that's not cheap either. I want to say it's like $3.50 or $4 a pop. But
yeah, that was my next question. How much is that? Yeah. I like that.
But if you but I haven't sent a sample to me, and it's really cool. It's a great idea, and if I think I might use it for something. If I have a list of 50 super duper duper agents that aren't doing business with us, I might could justify spending $200 or $300 on a well-written, handwritten letter just to them.
Right. No,
maybe. Yeah. If you can get one inspection out of it. And so, because, when you go to your mailbox now, even like the things like send out cards and things like that kind of look like handwritten,
You can tell.
You can tell it's not. And I know that I'm much more likely to open something that looks like somebody sat down at their desk and sent it to me.
Yeah, Meg's got, she actually sent her handwriting in, like to get a font with her handwriting. And it's pretty cool, but you can tell too, because like every F looks just alike, every T looks just alike. And you know when you actually write something, you know, if you wrote Mississippi, well, both P's and both I's and both S's aren't going to look exactly alike. You know, if they look exactly alike, you can tell this is a font of some type. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the thing about that mail list thing especially is that, you know, they'll take and if they, you know, they'll maybe intentionally around and scratch out a two-letter word and put something behind it, you know, like on and put at, or they'll put like a little circle with a smiley face at the end of a comment, or if they'll put two exclamation marks and one of them, you know, intentionally one of them a little bit different size than the first one, and the spacing's different. So I mean, you could tell it's real because it is real.
You know what's so crazy? Like we're going in reverse now. When we were in college, you know, we would write a rough draft, have markouts, and all this stuff. And I used to pay somebody to type my papers because I couldn't. Type. But, you know, I would write them and do all that stuff. And of course, you know, now we're trying to muck it up a little bit to make it look.
Exactly.
We're going
crazy.
You know, we're starting with the final copy and trying to make it look more like a rough draft so that it looks real. Kind of crazy.
You're exactly right. But those two companies are cool, and they'll send you something for free so you can just check it out.
Okay, bond.com and it's maillist.com. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Mail Lift, like L-I-F-T, like F is in Frank.
Okay, cool. I will check those out.
Yeah.
Well, John, we're starting to wind down. I know I've held you here for a while, and you dropped it.
No, I'm glad to do it.
Gold nuggets here. What's the best part of your job and why, and what's the worst part of your job and why?
The best part of my job is, it sounds cliche, but I like saving, you know, people a lot of money. You know, I don't care if, you know, if I find a leaky faucet, I don't feel like I'm a hero. But if I find something in a crawl space that obviously no one's seen, or the last guy didn't see, or something like that, and I'm saving, you know, $3,000 or $4,000, I like that. I feel good about that. The worst part is, you know, having to go in that crawl space. I don't know. The worst part is, because you want so badly to make everybody happy, and then everybody, you know, I mean, there's always that certain percentage that they're not going to love you, and that's kind of, you know, wears on you sometimes. But luckily, it doesn't, you know, outweigh all the good stuff.
I hear you. How many times have you ever opened a crawl space door and immediately you see a snake skin?
Countless.
You're just
Am I going in here? Yeah, I'm going in here.
Think of something pleasant. Balloons and clouds. Serenity now. All right. But, you know, I'm like, nope, nobody's died under here yet.
Right.
Statistically, maybe two.
See, but I always tell people that inspect in Florida, I wouldn't inspect in Florida for all the money in the world. You know, they got snakes that can eat you.
Louisiana.
Or that too.
Have you ever noticed, and I mean nothing against, I know there's somebody listening to this in Louisiana. I probably have a beautiful state, New Orleans. I'm sorry we just beat y'all on the Panthers fan. I like Drew Brees. But, man, you ever notice, what is that, Billy the Exterminator, the alligator guy? All those critter shows are in Louisiana. Man, they got bugs. They got too many things that'll, what is it? They'll sting you, bite you, or stick you.
Right. Yeah. Not for me.
No, not for me either. Not for me either. We see a couple of copperheads every now and then, but that's not the worst of it.
Right.
Well, is there anything that you're working on right now, John, that's got you jacked up or excited about?
Yeah. We've got introduced to this thing. A lot of us did it at the class we went to. I think you were there, or this seminar we went to, called Trello. It's an online free thing where you can basically organize. You can do all different kinds of things. So that it's a task management software that's internet based and it's free. But Joe and I have really planned out our entire year's worth of marketing on that. We've got it down really, really tight. And every little thing is accounted for, and it's really cool. And for the first time ever, I would say I'm really excited about having a marketing plan that will hold us accountable and is, you know, and could be and can be implemented easily. So that's we're jacked up on that right now.
That's awesome. I saw the presentation. I just hadn't had time. Is Trello, is it spelled Trel? Is it 2 L's or 1?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 2 L's.
2 L's, Trello. And it's free. And it's basically, can everybody, I guess who has a username, password, see? Because it's kind of like an online calendar and reminds you. It set reminders and things like that. So
right.
Basically stay organized, for your
and you can share, they call it boards. You can share like one project with as many people as you like, and only they can see it if you give them permission to. And if they change something, it shows up on your calendar. So it's pretty cool. I'm
going to have to check it out. I definitely will. Well, John, wait a minute. Here's the money question. I almost forgot. If you had to move to a brand new town equal to the size of Nashville, but you knew no one, but you still have all your equipment, all of your knowledge, room and board are taken care of, but you're having to start over marketing, and you know no one here, and you have $5,000, what are you going to do in the first week with that $5,000?
I would identify top producers and direct mail like crazy, and probably do a few chocolate houses in the offices to get my foot in the door. I think if I did those 3 things, I could get rolling fairly quickly.
Cool. Good answer. Well, is there
not too exciting or sexy, but I think it works.
Well, no, the basics, it's what is it? Blocking and tackling, man. That's the basics always work. Well,
hey, you wonder how come the pros can't get that down sometimes? They're pros, really?
Well, they don't teach it like they used to, well, is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have, John?
Yeah, you should have asked me, John, is it true the Dos Equis man thinks that you're the most interesting man in the world? That's what you should have asked. But no, that's it.
That's cool. I would love to do something with that marketing, but, I'd probably get some sort of copyright infringement thing. But
you would. The minute you put that guy's face up, somebody, you'd be getting a call from an attorney.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you know who to turn you in. It'd be your competitor.
Exactly.
But I love those commercials. Those, and I used to like the Old Spice, the old Spice commercials. I don't like the new ones.
He kind of creeps me out a little bit. So.
Yeah, well, when they got the other guy, but I don't know. Anyway. You know what was the best one of all? Do you remember, was it Cherry Tate, office linebacker? That was awesome.
I don't know if I remember. I've got it. I've seen that.
Man, look that up on
YouTube.
It is awesome. Cherry Tate, office linebacker. It was just like, all those little things in the office that would drive you crazy. Like, Jerry, you forgot to fill the coffee, Jerry. You drank the last cup, Jerry. He tackles me. It's over the top. It's so funny. Cherry Tate, office linebacker.
I saw something on Facebook. I think it was a Bud Light commercial where they had a clothing drive at an office.
Right.
And you got a free beer for each article of clothing you donated. And as the day went on, they were drinking more beer and they had on less clothing.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pretty hilarious.
So what's the name of that? It's
a Bud Light commercial, and it's about the clothing drive. It's pretty funny. I laughed pretty hard.
Oh man, that's cool. The Super Bowl's coming up. We're hoping our Panthers can make it, but I always love to watch the commercials, man.
Me too.
Because we're in the marketing, that's why we like it. Well, and the very last question, and I'll let you be on your way, John. Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
How many pairs of pants do you have?
You're talking about the crazy?
Yeah, the crazy pants.
About 30.
30?
Yeah, my wife gets so upset because they're about $100 a piece. I wear them for marketing, and she gets mad at me. I almost have to have them mailed in my P.O. box. But funny story. They're about $100. They're loudmouth. John Daly, most of them are. And so I was trying to save some money. And I wanted some unique pants. And my daughter was taking this sewing class at sewing camp or something like 2 years ago. And I went to pick her up. And I was a little bit early. And I asked the woman, I said, she obviously knows how to sew. I said, can you make pants like this? Would you be interested in making some pants like that? She said, yeah. I'll make them for $25. I was thinking, wow, that's a good deal. How much material can't cost $75? And I said, well, what do you need? She said 2 yards of material for each pair. So I went to the cloth store, and I just picked out the wildest, craziest material I could find. 2 yards of that, 2 yards of that. So she made me 8 pair of breeches, John. And they were pretty cool, and I was pretty happy with them, except for 3. 3 of them, I didn't consider the thickness of the material, and they were a little bit on the thin side.
Right.
And, man, I had to give a presentation at this office, and there's a really large window, and it was a sunshiny day, and all I could say is, man, I can't even get near a window now. I'm like, what britches do I have home, man? Because being backlit with thin britches is not the
silhouette
for the least people. Yeah, not at all. So, anyway, good stuff. Well, John, you've been so gracious with your time, and you gave everybody a ton of gold nuggets. How can all the listeners go to do you have a Facebook page they can go give you some likes on?
Yeah, they can. It's I guess the business page is just Nashville Home Inspection.
Okay, Nashville Home Inspection.
On Facebook, or and if they got any questions, they can just email me at john@nashvillehomeinspection.com. That's a simple one.
All right. Well, that is awesome, John. You guys go out there and give this guy some likes. He's dropped a ton of gold nuggets. And, John, I'm going to let you get back to Joan and get back to your thing, and I'll get this up online and send you a link tomorrow.
Right. Hey, man, thank you so much. I was glad to do it, and I got a lot out of it, so thank you.
So that is mutual. I got a lot out of it, too, and I really appreciate it, John. Well, have a good one, brother.
See you, bud.
All right, take it easy. Bye.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.